Hi, gang. Donna here. Thanks for tuning into the Better 2 podcast. Today's guest is William Branum. William is a vet of the Navy, 26-year vet, and 23 of those years he was a Navy SEAL. He now has another mission since he's retired, and that is he is the CEO of an organization called Naked Warrior Recovery. He wants to take veteran suicides from 22 down to 0, and he does that for one thing by using CBD, which he has a company for. So I hope you enjoy our interview. Today's a great day to start your own podcast, whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it would be fun to have your own talk show. Podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more within minutes of finishing your recording. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Follow the link in the show notes and tell Buzzsprout we sent you. That gets you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan and help support our show. And that $20 gift card will come after you have your second paid invoice. So let's create something great together and join Buzzsprout. Hi, William. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm good. You have taken time out of your busy schedule as you're on vacation to talk to my guest or talk to my audience. And I appreciate that a lot before you jet off back to Hawaii. Hawaii.
There's certainly worse places to live for sure.
I've had a couple of guests that live in Hawaii and they've all talked about how nice it is. So,
it's not bad. Certainly I can't complain.
Well, I've lived a lot of different places. Hawaii is not one of them, and each has a different flavor for sure. But we're not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about the fact that you were a Navy SEAL, and you have a cause about stopping suicide with vets. And I know that with the wars and everything, that has been a big thing to deal with post-traumatic stress disorder. So tell us a little bit about your own experience in the Navy, if you don't mind, and your cause.
So I joined the Navy pretty much right out of high school. I always knew that I wanted to be some sort of elite commando, even though I don't think I knew what those words were at the time. I grew up in Mississippi. I was, involved in the Boy Scouts. I became an Eagle Scout. I went to the National Jamboree. And I always knew I wanted to be like some kind of like either Army Ranger or Green Beret or a Marine sniper or something, run around in the woods and shoot guns and things like that. But that's the only thing I knew about. I knew, John Wayne was a Green Beret in Vietnam, at least in the movie. John Rambo was like an Army Ranger. Chuck Norris was part of Delta Force. This is the era that I grew up in.
I was going to ask you if Rambo had anything to do with this decision. So
it's potentially. And even though I didn't get to watch those movies, my mom wouldn't let me watch those movies when I was a kid. I still got, snippets of it and people talked about it and like, he had this giant knife and things like that. So that certainly did play a part of it. Then I went to this National Jamboree, Boy Scout National Jamboree. And there was a kid in like the sister troop that we went with. And he was like, well, I'm going to be a Navy SEAL and an F-14 fighter pilot. And I was like, okay, cool. F-14 fighter pilot, moving up Top Gun. I got that. I think I want to do that too. And what's a Navy SEAL? And so he was like, oh, so special forces, the most elite, whatever, hardest military training in the world. They do scuba diving, jump out of airplanes, shoot guns, blow stuff up. I'm like, yep, that's what I want to do. And so the summer that I came back from that National Jamboree was between my 11th and 12th grade of high school. After I came back, the Navy recruiter called me out of the blue. And I answered the phone. He was like, hey, have you ever thought about joining the Navy? And my thought was, if you called me like, 6 months ago, I would have said, no way, Jose. But I want to be a Navy SEAL and F-14 fighter pilot. He's like, okay, why don't you come on down here and we'll talk about it. So I went down to the station, the recruiting station. I watched a really cheesy recruiting video that was the coolest thing I've ever seen at the time. and I joined the Navy. Really, I joined the delayed entry program. So I signed the papers to join the Navy before I even started my 12th grade of high school. Then I went through the delayed entry program. I joined after I graduated. A couple weeks later, I went off to boot camp. Then I went to my kind of school to teach me like what my job in the Navy was going to be. Not a Navy SEAL. It was to be a gunner's mate, which I thought had to do with guns, but it doesn't. It has to do with these big gray things that float out in the ocean. It's really about electronics, pneumatics, and hydraulics, which my dad really wanted me to have like that background. And I was like, yeah, that's great. Now I want to go be a SEAL. But because I didn't take the opportunity while I was in that school, so I took the screening test in boot camp and I failed it because I didn't prepare myself physically. I did the swim fine, but the push-ups, I didn't crank out as many as I should have. And so I didn't get to take the rest of it. And when I look at that test nowadays, I'm like, it was so easy to do.
Yeah.
But that's, hindsight's 2020 or something like that. Then I didn't take the opportunity when I was up in kind of the Great Lakes area, going to my technical school for the Navy. And so I thought I'll take another school to get in better shape, and then I'll go to SEAL training. But when I did that, I ended up, what happened is because I took that school, I had 24 months of obligated service to the Navy. So even if I failed out of that school, I still was going to the ship in Yokosuka, Japan for the next 2 years. And then it was time for me to leave that ship and go to my next set of orders. And I called the HR guy, I guess, of the Navy, who tells you where you're going to go for your next job. And I said, hey, I want to go to SEAL training. He's like, that's great, but you're too critical because of the school that you took. And so I almost didn't get to go to SEAL training.
Wow.
I took the screening test again and did all the medical stuff and everything. And I had letters of recommendation. And he still said, no, you're too critical to the Navy. I'm not going to release you. And then the chief of naval operations came to my ship in Yokosuka, Japan. He didn't go to any other ship. He came to my ship, and people told me that he made common sense decisions pretty much on the spot, like changing policy no matter what. And so he came to my ship. We had, he had CNO's call, and the kind of like to understand like who the CNO is, the chief of naval operations. He's the most senior guy in the Navy. The only people more senior to him are the Secretary of Defense and the President of the United States. So he's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just a little nobody in the Navy. And he says, hey, okay, so here's my vision of the Navy to, everyone on the ship. Does anyone have any questions? And of course I raised my hand. I of course told everyone that meant anything on the ship to me, that I was going to do this. And I said, I raised my hand. He called on me as a second person. He's like, I'm like, yeah, I joined the Navy to be a SEAL. I think I deserve a chance to go, but my detailer won't let me. He says I'm too critical, but I think I deserve to go. I've spent my time, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay. He turns to my commanding officer and he's like, is he a good guy? My commanding officer said, yeah, he was a sailor of the quarter, which is like employee of the month in the Navy. And he turns back to me. He's like, check, you'll be in the first class after your PRD, which is planned rotational date. And 6 weeks later, I'm off to California to go learn how to be a Navy SEAL.
Wow. So let me ask you this. What did your parents say about you signing up?
Supportive. Okay. My dad was a 20-year Navy guy, which was one of the reasons I didn't want to join the Navy. The other reason I didn't want to join the Navy is my grandfather was a Navy guy. I didn't want anything to do with the Navy, like ships floating out in the ocean. And I want to run around in the woods and hide out and shoot guns and stuff like that. And, you're up in the kind of Chicago area, right? So you get a lot of those boot camp sailors that come through and you see how they act.
Well, here's the thing.
I was one of those guys.
I'm actually about 10 miles away from an Army Reserve base because I'm not actually in Chicago. I'm about 80 miles out. But when I was growing up, my grandmother used to work at the Navy base in New Orleans. So I got to go on base with her occasionally to go shopping at the PX. So I got to witness, as a young girl, the sailors and stuff. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Understood.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so in the town I grew up in, there was a naval air station. And, these kids straight out of boot camp, they're walking around in the mall, big groups of them, loud, obnoxious. I'm like, I don't like those people. Mm-hmm. I'm just a little redneck here in Meridian, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to be part of that. And then I became part of that. So I just had to follow my path.
I think you just kind of morph. Sometimes we sit there. I mean, the big when you want to say a statement like that, how many times have we said as a kid, I don't want to grow up and be like my parents?
Right.
But yet, you're living proof there. You went into the Navy.
Right.
So, I mean,
different path, but yes,
yeah,
exactly.
I mean, so sometimes even though we say, I'm not going to be that, we turning to that exactly.
Right.
So did you actually, as a Navy SEAL, did you actually see serious action? And I know some things you can't talk about, but how did it affect your mental health? I mean, obviously, Navy SEALs have some serious missions to do, and there's death involved in them occasionally. Yep. So how does that affect your mental health?
So it depends on who's dying. If it's the other side dying, it's not a big deal. If it's when it's on our side, it's a much bigger deal. But there is this thing. So I have 7 combat deployments, 4 to Iraq and 3 to Afghanistan. And the thing I think that really hurts us the most is when you're deployed and you're constantly going into harm's way, we're very well trained for that. However, we're not trained to be stuck in this hypersensitive fight or flight, sympathetic, I think that's the right one, sympathetic nervous system effect that happens. You get in and you're always on edge, and you don't have the tools to come back down off of, being in that fight or flight all the time. And so I think that is one of the most detrimental things that happens to us. But obviously, losing teammates in the line of duty is definitely a very hard thing to do.
I kind of understand. Go ahead. I mean, I kind of understand what you're talking about, and it's not the same, but living with somebody that's terminally ill that that's on borrowed time, I didn't realize the stress or anxiety until after he was gone. And it's like, that's when my doctor pulled me aside and said, you've been living in a high anxiety life for like the last 5 years. Yeah. And you don't realize it. And it's something hard to unwind and get back to. And it's not the same. I understand it's not the same, but there's still components that are.
It is, but it is the same. Really, at the end of the day, as I've kind of peeled back the onion on this, it's like you can be, I actually say that our job on these deployments was easier than like conventional Army or conventional Marine Corps, because, we plan what we're going to go do. Now, it doesn't always work out according to plan, but we have a plan of go in, hit the enemy hard, do what we have to do, and then get out. Most traditional military organizations in those Iraq, Afghanistan scenarios, they go out there and they are like patrolling very, very slowly. Anytime that I was on a mission and I was riding in a Marine Corps or an Army convoy, I was terrified because they drive about 10 miles an hour. They're a super easy target. I mean, they're willing to fight. They're there to fight, but they're a super easy target, but they're going in on the enemy's terms. They're not going in on their own terms. I mean, they have contingencies, but that was more terrifying and more stressful than any of the missions that we did. I mean, when people are shooting at you and stuff's blowing up around you, there's a different sense of, you get a little stress there, but more stress from things blowing up because you have no control over that. If someone's shooting at you, you have the opportunity to make that stop, make that noise stop.
Well, I mean, go ahead.
Well, yeah. And so, but if something is blowing up, you don't know if it's like something remote, if it was something you ran over, if it was someone's hiding in the corner somewhere, or, they're flying a UAV around watching you, and then they like hit it remotely. You don't know where the enemy is in those scenarios. So that's more stressful than like a gunfight.
I would think it's kind of along the lines of an extended going up the hill on a roller coaster, because you have that slow pace of going up that track.
Yeah, it kind of is like that.
And you don't know when you're going to go down.
Right.
And it's and for an extended period, it's going to mess with you.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. So on the conventional force side, 100%, like they just stand out there in these sort of barricaded positions and stand guard in the middle of bad guy land, and people shoot at them and snipers take shots at them. And, we've lost a lot of soldiers and Marines that way. And the way that we operate, we operate mostly at night, not 100% of the time, but mostly at night on our own, lights, blacked out, on night vision goggles. We're climbing buildings. We're driving like 60, 80 miles an hour in armored vehicles, swerving in and out of wherever we need to. And, we don't take chances. We mitigate risk as much as possible, where the, conventional forces, they're just standing out there completely exposed all the time. And that sucks. I never, ever, I saw those guys and I thank them for their service 100% of the time.
I've actually had two people on the podcast that are vets, and one was, he talked about his problem with alcohol, and he was in the Navy, and how he still works with vets and trying to overcome that. And the other one was an Army guy, and he talked about being in Iraq and how you weren't supposed to have contraband, and how contraband had gotten delivered, but they would have people that would take shots at him. And at first he's like, yeah, we were all, the first time it happened, second time it happened, we're all like jumping out of bed and, getting all panicked and prepared. And then after that, it was just kind of like, oh, they're not going to be able to hit us. So whatever. Right.
You just you just weigh your odds. Like, yeah, rocket attacks are the worst, because you hear them coming. And you're like, do I get up and go anywhere? Well, I might as well just sit here, because maybe it's going to hit there. I've been very lucky on rocket attacks. They've hit like directly on the other side of the wall, or like just a few feet away, and nothing happened. But yeah.
It goes back then to, once you've seen combat, and I know this has happened with a lot of vets, is that you're shell shocked afterwards. And how do you go back to a normal life where, I don't know what your stance is on fireworks, but it's like us celebrating. And I understand it's fun and it's beautiful to see fireworks, but are you affecting the vets that serve this country? Are you sending them back to that triggering moment of being on, at the front end of the war?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Fireworks. I can go watch fireworks. Beautiful. When Hawaii, like, fireworks are outlawed, but somehow everyone has a million fireworks.
Chicago, same thing.
And I don't know how that happens, but it's yeah, like neighbors blow it, shooting fireworks. Like, my heart jumps out of my chest 100%. It used to not happen like that. But yeah, it's not ideal, for sure.
I mean, and it's like, I don't think people realize it. It's like, I understand you're celebrating, but you're also triggering, not to mention the animals hate it. But I mean, somebody that's a combat vet, it's really going to mess with them. And it's not like we just have a little small group of combat vets. I mean, we have vets all the way back from Vietnam still. Yeah. And some World War II, but they're starting to pass, unfortunately.
Not many of those guys left.
Yeah. My father-in-law was in World War II, so he's gone. But yeah, he was a Navy guy, but he never saw any action. He was on a boat, didn't see any action. He worked in the laundry and the little store, but he was happy.
My grandfather was in the Navy, and I think he joined so that he wouldn't get recruited. Mm-hmm. I don't really know the story, but he always told me a story. He had this K-bar knife, and he always told me, like, they taught him how to, like, sneak up behind the enemy, like grab their nose, cover their mouth, and then like shove the knife in, and like, and then let him slide down your leg. And he just told me that story like a million times. Mm-hmm. And then after I graduated SEAL training, then he finished the story and said, so the first one, he went down really easy. The second one, he put up quite a fight. And I was like, are you kidding? I didn't, what? Yeah. You're a Navy guy on a ship. How did you even, like, how are you like in hand-to-hand combat on the beach with the enemy? Like, you're a bosun's mate. And like, he would drive, like Saving Private Ryan, he would drive the landing force to the beach. Okay. And so that's sort of, he also like has like a picture of the ship that he was on. And he also has like these little stamps of like the kamikazes that he shot down personally, that he got credit for shooting down. And I was like, wow, you've been through, that's significant combat for someone who was on a ship floating around in the middle of the ocean.
So you gave 26 years of your life as a Navy guy. How many years as a SEAL?
23.
23. And I take it you have no regrets about it.
No. I mean, I would like to have been not gone to the regular Navy, but it did give me an appreciation, and I got to see parts of the world that I never would have gotten to see. it gave me an appreciation of what I actually have in the SEAL teams versus, what, a traditional Navy guy does.
What was it like so you finished your last mission. What was it like to basically retire from the Navy and come back to a normal life?
It was terrible. So retiring from the military, I use air quotes here. I like to say is the hardest military mission I've ever been on. And I'm still on that mission because in the SEAL teams, I have a mission, I have a purpose, I have a team that surrounds me that I can rely on. I help them, they help me. And sometimes it's not always kind helping, but it's helping nonetheless. We have, tough love, certainly in the SEAL teams. And when I left, you don't get to go back in. You're pretty much out forever. And so that was definitely one of the hardest things that I had because I lost all of that. It's like losing like an entire generation of family, and friends and support network and everything. So that was really difficult. I have got, and I also say that I have a lot of baggage. I don't say that I have PTSD or anything like that. I have baggage because baggage can come from anything. It can come from, things that happen at work and, from being a school teacher to, a postal person to, being in the military to being a single mom or single dad. Other people will put their crap on you and, maybe you have been part of some sort of toxic relationship. All of that is baggage that we end up filling ourselves. And we end up with all this noise and negative self-talk going on because maybe someone has been giving you all that negative self-talk. And so I had a lot of noise in my head. And so I was using alcohol to pretty much dull that noise. Like you talked about another Navy guy earlier, how much, alcohol he would consume. I consumed pretty much would just drink myself to sleep at night just to like turn that noise off so that I could not even off, just down, just dull it so that I could like fall asleep. And then, you're in not great shape the next day. You get up, you start the whole process all over again. So alcohol was my medication of choice when I got out of the military, but I knew it wasn't where I needed to be. I knew I wanted to be better. I wanted to, I was trying to a couple of entrepreneurial ventures that were doing okay, but not where I wanted them to be. And I had heard about this molecule called CBD, but I was afraid to try it because I still maintained my top secret clearance in the military. And I didn't want to like take something that was marijuana, I'm using air quotes there, based and ruin my chances of maybe picking up some sort of opportunity with the government that required a top secret clearance. I eventually tried CBD and it helped kind of turn the noise down a little bit, but I didn't notice anything right away. And actually a friend of mine gave me my first bottle of CBD because I was having lunch with him one day. It was a former teammate. And I'm like, I'm going to go try CBD. I'm going to see if I can find some CBD here in Virginia. Because maybe what you have here is better than what we have in Hawaii. And I didn't know anything about the industry or the products or anything else. And he's like, you want CBD? I've got a bottle at home. So we went back to his house. He gave me a bottle. And I'd say that night, I slept a little better and I was a little less pissed off the next day. But what I noticed, I didn't notice like grand changes. And what I did notice is over time, over like a 30-day period that I had that bottle of CBD and took it every day, is water boils at 212 degrees. I was probably living at 210 degrees. So it didn't take much of a trigger to like set me off and put me over that edge. Yeah. And what I noticed is that my fuse got longer. So I went from like 210 to 205 to 200 to 195 to 190. I got out of that red zone and kind of into that orange zone. And so, but I didn't really notice it until I looked back on like how I was feeling. Like I had to do a little internal function check. And I noticed like it was taking me longer to get angry over certain triggers. And I also noticed that different pains in my body, they were less bad. So rather than having these sharp pains, those sharp pains are now dulled. There's still pain, but they're just dulled to a lesser degree of pain. And so I stopped taking it because CBD is kind of expensive. And then, I had similar, like I started going back into that red zone. So I tried a different brand. I had similar results. Then I was at a business conference. I'm very interested in CBD now, in the CBD industry. And I met someone in the industry, and she said, well, why don't you just start your own CBD company? And I was like, I don't know how to do that. And she said, you're a Navy SEAL. Go figure it out. I was like, oh, okay. So from there, I started my own CBD company called Naked Warrior Recovery.
Okay. And I have a couple of questions. When you're describing about walking out, retiring, the fact of the matter is you labeled yourself as a Navy SEAL for 23 years. That was your identity. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. When an older person retires from a company back in the day, they were there for 20 years. That was their life. That was who they were. And I went through a similar experience when I left my job as a supervisor, a claims supervisor. That was my identity. And suddenly, you don't have the same friends around. And it's not the same magnitude, but you still, you stop and you question, well, who am I now?
What's my purpose? What's my mission? What am I doing? Yeah.
And nobody really thinks about that. They just think, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to become this. But what happens afterwards?
Right.
You have to, I think if we had more of a level playing field with our identity, which I know seems really weird, but if we understood that we are us and we're not the label of Navy SEAL, insurance supervisor, we're just us. Right. I'm me, you, or you. As far as CBD, I have a friend who has a company. She's had a company for a long time, and I've used it on my dogs. And it's always helped when they've had anxiety during rainstorms and fireworks.
Right. And fireworks. Yeah.
Yeah. So I understand. And I think it's a great tool. And I think it helps with, when we roll back to the opioid epidemic, this CBD is not an addictive thing. It helps without being addictive, and you can still function while taking it. It's not the whole, let me get high and carry on.
You don't actually feel anything.
Right.
Like you do with the other molecule there, the other major molecule from the hemp plant.
Right. So when you decided that you were going into business for yourself with the CBD, did you reach out to other vets? I mean, what made you decide that, okay, this is what I'm going to do? It's working for me. How did you come about creating this for yourself?
So I looked at some other companies, some other veteran-owned CBD companies, and kind of looked to see what they were doing. But also when I found someone in the industry at this business symposium, this business conference that was going on, and almost every speaker, they're speaking to entrepreneurs. They're like, what is your why? You have to, you don't have a business. You don't have what other than making money, what is the thing that drives you? What is your purpose? And so I had to do a little bit of figuring that out, and CBD helped me. It helped, kind of turn down the noise in my head so that I could change some of the negative self-talk that I had. It helped me turn that noise down and have better self-talk. And, I also looked at, other veterans with similar issues. I think that I'm insignificant in the whole world of veterans and things like that. But I look at, many of my teammates who had taken their own life, and I was like, and then I looked into what's going on there, and, people that you would never think they would do that. And I found that, 22 veterans take their lives every single day. We have lost more veterans to suicide than we have to 20 years of sustained combat. And I also, I don't know, it was 4 months ago, I was doing another podcast interview with 2 other SEALs. And that's when I realized that my dad was one of those 22. My dad took his own life, right a little bit after I graduated SEAL training. And then it became more personal. So our mission at Naked Warrior Recovery is 22-0, taking that number 22 veterans who take their lives every single day down to 0. And so that's our mission, but it's not just veterans. I can't even conceptualize what the suicide rate is for, first responders, law enforcement, things like that, especially in the current environment that's out there. I couldn't do that job. I would not be able to do that. So I thank them every time I see them, even if they have something not so nice to say to me, speeding or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it's not just for, veterans. It's for really anyone who's suffering from any kind of stress or anxiety, kind of like your dogs, fireworks, or anything like that.
To be honest, my mom committed suicide.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I understand that loss of a parent. I understand sometimes there's nothing you can do, and if this helps reframe the mindset, then that's an amazing gift. My dad's a
Right.
retired fireman, and while he got the key to the city for saving somebody, he also has had a life of pain and anxiety and depression, and
Right.
he's masked it with alcohol because he said the worst thing you could smell is burning flesh.
Yep. It's fact.
And I mean, I had a friend who dated somebody that saw combat, and she ended up breaking up with him because he was having night terrors all the time.
Yeah.
And, coming back from that, she's wanting to have a normal relationship because she really liked him, but he's not going to be the same guy he was before military.
Right. He's got a lot of baggage. He's got to unload.
Mm-hmm. There's a movie called, go ahead.
No, and that's kind of like, so you see my shirt, it says Get Naked. And that's really about changing your mindset. It's about taking your ego off and kind of setting in the quarter. And once you are brave, like the sheer magnitude of courage that it takes to do that for anyone is like, it's a magnitude of undescribable magnitude to like be brave enough to like take that ego off and stop hiding behind it, to find some sort of healing. And once I was able to figure that out, then I was able to have a little better self-talk. And that's how I came up with this Get Naked mindset. And that naked is really an acronym. Get Naked is about taking action, but it's about taking the ego off and setting it aside. But it's also about the N is for never quit, the A is accept failure, the K is kill mediocrity, the E is expose your fears, and the D is to do the work. And so this applies to all sorts of things that happen in your life. But, most importantly, it's one of the modalities of changing your mindset. CBD was a modality that helped me. And these were things that helped change my mindset and get me on the path that I'm on right now.
And I totally can understand the Get Naked statement because I read cards, and there's a card in my tarot deck called Strength. And in this picture, there's a woman standing there with a sheet in front of her with a lion on it. But you can assume that she's naked underneath. And that's what I always say. You have to be real. It's like, you have to be willing to be, strength comes when you're willing to be vulnerable, when you're willing to face who you are at your core and try to move past, as you say, that baggage. Terminal Velocity was a Charlie Sheen movie, a really bad Charlie Sheen movie back in the 90s. But there was one line in it that always just has stuck out to me. And that was, pack your bags, we're going on a guilt trip. Because somebody was trying to guilt him. And that's the thing. Sometimes people use their baggage to guilt you into doing things. So if you're coming from a place of honesty and strength, who's being real with you. And that is a big deal.
Right. And once you're able to do that, once you're able to get naked, the world, like the scales come off your eyes and you're able to see much more clearly than you were previously.
Well, and that's the thing. There's so many things that are put in front of us that have the illusion of being real, but they're not always real. But we buy into it that this is 100% true, and this is how we need to act, and this is how we need to live our life.
Right.
So, have you been able to? I don't want to put this on you, but I have to ask: have you been able to save somebody from doing this? That you recognize that you were able to turn their life around?
I don't know if I've been able to save anyone, but I have had a lot of feedback. So I had there's a whole presentation, and so if you go to the number 5, sealsecrets.com, the number, the letter number 5, SEAL-secrets.com, you can get really what Get Naked means. You just put your name and email in there, and I'll email you this document that I created. But from that, and maybe a combination of both, I've had a bunch of people reach out and thank me. I've had people reach out, they've heard me on platforms like this, and reach out for help. And so I, pass on whatever knowledge or whatever mindset I can. I don't know if I've ever saved anyone from that. No one has said, hey, I was going to, but I didn't.
But even if they haven't fully said it, if they've said thank you and they've reached out, that is half the battle right there.
Right. Yeah.
So you should applaud yourself, even though I know we're talking don't get ego, but that's still got to make you feel good that you've helped. And that goes back to, dare I say, your Navy SEAL thing, because what was your whole position but to try to help and
Right.
win something?
Right. And it's funny, like when I got out, it was very hard for me to tell anyone that I was a SEAL because, while you're in, they kind of beat into you, don't advertise the nature of your work. And I totally get that. Like I didn't even have social media until I got out. And that was the only reason that I have that is because I started the company, or I had a LinkedIn profile, but I said pretty much nothing on it because no one needs to know what I'm doing. No one needs to know anything about that. But what I've learned over time is that it's good to tell people what you did. And by the way, no one is telling like an NFL linebacker that he shouldn't use his credentials as an NFL linebacker for whatever team to go create another company.
Right.
So I realize that I have a certain skill set, a certain pedigree, if you will. I've come through a lot of adversity. I'm still dealing with adversity, but if I can take my struggles and be vulnerable enough to say, yeah, I have done some really hard stuff and I still have adversity and I'm still working through it and we can do this together. And I think that's a very powerful statement.
So I want to ask you personally, were you married when you were a SEAL, or did that come after you got out?
Married and divorced and remarried.
Okay. So was there a transition point so since you were divorced, was that while you were still in, or did that happen after you got out?
While I was still in.
Okay. So it was just a matter of, it's got to be hard for your spouse to always be, once again, it goes back to the anxiety level. While you're under the anxiety, they have to be under the anxiety of, is something going to happen to them?
Sure. Although I'm going to not go too deep down this rabbit hole.
I don't want you to go too deep down. I'm just.
I will say that different people have different personality traits, and some people have unhealthy personality traits, and so some of my baggage is from toxic relationships.
Understand.
I'm still going through litigation 12 years later.
Okay. Yes. Well, we won't talk about that at all. But I understand. And I wasn't trying to, it wasn't a, dare I say, got you question. It was just kind of.
It's a super relevant question. And depending on, like on a one-on-one, I might give you more, but I also am very conscious of like, I'm not a woe is me person. I'm a problem solver. And so I'm just trying to solve problems over here.
I understand. And I totally get it. The gentleman that had been on, the one that had used alcohol, the one that had been in the Navy, it had cost him. And he was very frank about it. So I understand that you guys in the military, I couldn't do it. I'm going to be straight up. I could not join the military. My stepfather wanted me to join the military. And I'm like, no. I had a hard enough time when I was told I was going to be a bodily injury person for insurance, that I was going to investigate bodily injury claims and see things, that I was like, no. I had an opportunity to go as an outside adjuster, and this is how they described the job to me. Well, if you get a call at 3:00 in the morning, now you get a company car, you get a decent amount of money, but if you get a call at 3:00 in the morning to go to a school where there's been, the janitors found a dead body and there's blood all over the place, well, you have to go view this. And I'm like, no. No, awesome. No. It was bad enough. I originally turned down the elevator escalator claim job because they were talking about the decapitation in the elevator and how people can get degloved. And I'm like, And then finally I was like, sure, I'll do it. And I never really saw any of this. I heard about some of it, but yeah, you have to know yourself, and putting myself in that situation would not have been a healthy thing. No.
Agreed. I wouldn't want to do that job either.
Well, I ended up doing the elevator escalator stuff, but it was all from my office, and I only heard stories. I didn't get to see visuals, which was good.
You get to send people out into the field.
Right. And then you have other weird things that come across, like people saying that their breast implants shifted because of a seatbelt. Now those, they decide to send pictures into the office, and you're like, why? I don't need to see this, but Okay. I wouldn't, I'm
Proof.
not.
It's evidence.
Yeah. Well, when the guy sends the implant of his pierced member in, because apparently the seatbelt messed with his implant and he had a constant erection, it just kind of goes, why am I seeing this? But there you go. Like you said, it's proof. Sometimes you just don't want proof.
Right.
Anyway,
I'll take your word.
now that I've digressed. So what is your long-term hope besides one? Okay, so say we get the perfect number down and you have zero suicides with the military. What do you see your next step in this being?
Well, so like I said, it's not only veterans, it's, first responders, it's single moms, single dads, construction workers. Everyone has
Baggage.
People take their lives for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
People have baggage and they don't know what to do with it. My long-term goal is so I started CBD, the Seat Naked Warrior Recovery as a CBD company, to help give, veterans and first responders, another modality to help them,
right,
kind of turn down that noise. It's not a cure in any way, shape, or form. Some people claim it to be a cure. It's not a cure. It is a modality to help your body come back into homeostasis. The other side of it is really spreading the word on the get naked mindset. And, going back to that fivesealsecrets.com, website, I have a presentation that I give to organizations. Some of it is just to kind of to help you look inside and help you to improve one single, like, what's the hardest thing that you have going on? What's the most challenging part of your life do you have? You can use these 5 SEAL secrets that never quit, accept failure, kill mediocrity, expose your fears, and do the work to tackle those goals, to help you be better at whatever it is you're doing. So if you're struggling in one area, whether it's a relationship or something at work or whatever, these tools will help you get through that. But you have to apply them. And you can't apply it once. You have to apply it multiple times every day. It's like CBD. You can't take it once and it be good. It's like, it's constantly kind of like doing affirmations every day. You have to do it every single day. And, CBD is really no different. It's like, I call it a super multivitamin for your endocannabinoid system, which is this giant neuroreceptor system that's connected to every other system in your body. But once something is out of whack, like, it pulls everything else out of balance. And so CBD kind of helps, pull everything. It feeds the endocannabinoid system, bringing everything back into balance. And that's why people, get their cancer is cured or whatever. I'm using air quotes there. CBD doesn't cure cancer. What it does is it brings the body back into homeostasis so that it can start to heal itself. And in some cases, it's, chronic illness, because it does help reduce chronic inflammation, reduces stress. It reduces all sorts of other things. But really use CBD as a modality and the get naked mindset as another modality to change really what you have going on up here. So if you can fix what you have going on up here, then you can improve your life and hopefully not make the decision to take your own life.
Have you thought of partnering with some therapists or therapy organizations?
I have not yet. That's a fine. It's tricky because they are medical professionals, right, and they are in the mindset space. But I'll just talk about one: expose your fear. And this is very therapist related. And when I say expose your fears, I'm not talking about lions and tigers and bears, oh my, or spiders or snakes. I don't like those guys either. But it's those fears that you keep buried down in that deep, dark part of your brain. Like, you keep back there that you don't want to tell anyone about. You don't want to share, because if someone ever found out those secrets, I'm using air quotes here, whatever those things are that you're hiding, you're burying, you're suppressing, they might think differently of you. And that's also part of taking your ego off and being a little bit vulnerable. And, there are ways to, fear comes in all sorts of forms. Maybe you have a fear of public speaking. Maybe you were bullied as a kid. Well, I would say if you were bullied as a kid and you have low self-esteem, go take a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class. You're going to learn a skill to protect yourself, in self-defense. And you're going to be forced to fight someone every day you go to class in a safe, controlled environment. And what you're going to learn very quickly is the people that you're training with, they want you to get better so that they can get better. They want you to have higher self-esteem, but you have to take the step to expose that fear, to take one step forward. Or you have a fear of public speaking, go take an acting class or a public speaking class. And then you're going to be forced to get up in front of class and speak. Your classmates want you to succeed. They don't want you to get up there and fail. They want to help you get better at whatever that skill is. So those are ways that you can kind of expose your fear. But another one is a friend of mine, a business coach also, his name is Sharon Srivatsa. He says that fear does not exist on paper. And so when he's stressed out and has all this anxiety swirling around when he's driving in the car by himself, and those are the fears that I'm talking about, those things that just come out and you're like having these arguments with yourself over, and there's no one else in the car, or you can't sleep at night or whatever. What he does is he'll take a pen and a piece of paper, not type it out on your phone or anything, a pen or pencil and a piece of paper, and he writes down every single, like a brain dump, single thing that is driving him crazy, that fear, that anxiety, that whatever. And he reads it. And when he reads it, there's something like magical or neurological that happens that's connected to your brain, to your shoulder, down to your hand. And it pulls the fear out of that pencil and puts it on the paper, and the fear is gone. Like you read, like, so-and-so doesn't like me for some reason, or says I wronged them in some way. Well, when you read that and you're like, really, that is really the thing that's bothering me. Try that. Share it with someone, read it out loud, share it with someone else, share it with your therapist, share it with your friends, share it with your significant other who you trust. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm talking. That's the kind of where, it's the get naked mindset, like a piece of it does certainly fit into that kind of therapist world of sharing. Like, I don't like sharing with other people. I've found other ways to, like one-on-one, like I share many of my fears, like expose them in forums like this, like, oh, okay, I'm brave enough to, but it takes a tremendous amount of bravery and trust to do that sometimes. Well, and just the not giving a crap, the id gaff, I don't give a F anymore.
Well, I mean, I kind of realized, at the podcast that I released today about sex, it's like, it's a very frank conversation about sex. It's very open. And it's like, if someone can learn from what I've gone through or what I've done in my life, that applies to all podcasts that I've done, then why not share it? And the reason I brought up therapy is because therapists have a way of helping you reframe something.
Yes.
Because as I've learned in the last few years, that as a kid, the things that we experienced either as a kid or a teenager or early 20s, our mind kind of protected us. Our mind would not let us basically take in the truth of the matter. There's a prime example of my stepfather and I getting into what I called at the time a physical altercation. Well, the fact of the matter is my stepfather had me up against the wall with his hands around my throat. That's not a physical altercation. My mind had to have it be a physical altercation. As an adult, I recognized the man was trying to kill me. You don't put your hands around somebody's throat unless you're wanting it in certain matters, but that's neither here nor there. In this situation, he wasn't doing to give me a hug.
Right.
So, and I clawed him and everything. That was not I always said it was a physical altercation. Well, while it is, the bigger takeaway is he was attempting murder. That's all that is. But our minds,
assault at the very least.
Yeah, you have to get to a point where your mind is more open to it and reframe it for what it was.
Right.
It's like suicide. The fact is, for me, my mom, you were pretty young when your dad did it. When my mom did it, I was 22, and I carried a lot of guilt with it for a long time. That what could I have done to stop it? And the fact of the matter is, I couldn't have.
Nothing. Yeah, it was already going to happen.
Right. Especially because she had tried it so many times prior. I don't know about your dad, but it's one of those things. If somebody has been on a mission to do it, they're going to do it.
Right. I didn't know. Yeah. I mean, I think he was in a bad mental place. I know he had a bunch of debt and some other stuff, and I don't really know, but yeah.
Yeah.
The way that he did it, he wasn't going to fail.
The thing is, my mom had tried pills so many times, and she tried a gun, and it became to a point where she was mentally abusive to me because she's like, I'm going to do it in my shower. I'm going to do it in the walk-in shower. I want you to come back from Dallas because she was in Shreveport. I want you to come back and I want you to find me.
Oh
And
yeah, she's like, there's like that's like either, you know, borderline personality disorder, narcissism, or, you know,
and a little
something in
bipolar
there. Like
all
it's,
thrown in.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I just said, if you love me, you wouldn't ask me to do that. And I warned my stepfather, and, you know, he kept the gun in the house. I told him, and what can I do? He kept the gun. The worst thing was, after all was said and done, he had moved out of Indiana where they were at the time when it happened. And he's like, can you go down to the police department and get that gun? It's my service revolver from when I was a reserve officer. And I'm like, no, it took my mother's life. So no.
right,
And once again, how dare you ask me to do something
yeah,
like this?
yeah,
So I understand that sometimes, no, and that's got to be hard for you too, because I know you're on a mission to try to save people, but you also, I think you have enough mindset to know that you can't save everybody.
if the goal isn't unrealistic enough, then you're not shooting high enough.
Yeah.
The goal should be unrealistic. If you're like, you can easily hit it, then it's what's the point? Do things that are hard. Do things that seem unattainable.
Right. Right. Because that's the only way you're going to grow, for one.
Right. You may not hit the goal, but you'll make a dent in it along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's important.
And kind of going back to, you know, that reframing thing, you know, we talked about whatever toxic. I just refer to it as toxic relationships. And I have one that I'm still dealing with. And what the reframing that I have, and I know that all the stories and lies that are being told, because they're told to me, and I'm like, where do you even get that from?
Mm-hmm.
But what gives me joy is and maybe joy is not the right word, but it certainly has changed my mindset about it, is the amount of mental bandwidth that is being consumed about me by someone else. It's like, and I spend very little mental capital on it. I don't have time for games or nonsense. I just want to move forward and help people in life. Like my mental capacity, my mental bandwidth is about helping people, trying to grow a business that will do good in the world, not about trying to hurt someone else. I don't care about trying to hurt someone else. I care about trying to heal people, trying to help people.
And that's why, you know, same thing with the podcast. It's like, that's why I do this. If somebody can learn something and it helps them, then I've done my job.
Right.
You know, and
100%.
I think if we all try to help people instead of go against people, we would be in a much better and peaceful place. But everybody's got their opinion and everybody wants to battle about it. And it's like, look, I hate to say it, but like Rodney King said, why can't we all just get along?
Right.
It would be so much easier, but we have polarized people. So, So is there anything that we haven't discussed that you would like to add?
My website. If you're interested in CBD, and I know that you have someone, a friend who also has a CBD company, and it is a very saturated market. Everywhere you look, there's like CBD stores, CBD everything, but not all CBD is created equal. And one of the goals that I had when I was starting the CBD company is when I started kind of looking into the industry, I found that it was very dirty industry. So much that the FDA has gone out and done thousands of spot checks at this point. And they found that more than 70% of the companies either don't have CBD in the product, they have high levels of THC outside the legal limit of 0.2%. They have heavy metals, like mercury, arsenic, lead, and other toxins in the oil. And people are like, because CBD is still kind of Wild Westy, because it has only been legal federally since December 20th of 2018. So it's still a very brand new market, even though some people were doing it where THC was legal prior to, or it was like this underground market thing. I would say if you're interested in CBD, be very careful about what you have. Make sure that all products that you that are purchased have a independent third party lab testing for every lot of CBD. We do we go at a little bit of a higher standard. So we test the oil when it comes out of the hemp plant to make sure it doesn't have any toxins. It has, this much CBD in it. And then we turn that oil into a product, whether it's a gummy, a pet treat, a tincture that you put under your tongue, a soft gel, or I have an energy drink as well, or any of the topicals that we have. And then we test the product again. We test the oil, the final product, so that you know exactly what you're getting. So you get the CBD that we say that you're going to get. So there's a QR code on every product. So you can scan it, look at the lot number, and see exactly what product you're getting. And so we focus on higher quality, the highest quality product on the market. And that's really what we're about. We're about high quality, CBD, like the highest quality that you can get, mostly in a broad spectrum, so that we remove the THC, but still maintain all the other minor cannabinoids and terpenes of the hemp plant. So to make it as high bioavailability and good for the body as possible.
Nice.
Oh,
nice.
And the website is NW for Naked Warrior, NW-recovery.com. You can also type in Naked Warrior Recovery, but I thought that maybe people didn't want to write naked into their search engine, so I changed it to NW-recovery.com. But you can still type in Naked Warrior Recovery and go to the site.
Yeah, I'm sure if people type in naked, they're going to end up with a lot of things they don't want in their search history.
The sex podcast that you did the other day, or you released today.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's I have a girl that I interviewed in Sexy Freedom Media, and she's like, initially that's her whole brand. She's like, yeah, initially it would come up with porn.
Right.
So she's like,
drive up her,
now it's not so much, but she found a niche. So
yeah.
So I thank you for your time. It's been an interesting show.
Thank you.
And William's conversation, I think, is an important conversation, because after being in the military for so long, 26 years, there's a couple of things to unpack here. When you look at the fact that we identify so strongly with who we are with our jobs, and when that job is done, there's so many things, so many layers that you have to unpack. You have to unpack that this is the people I work with that I've spent most of my time with, even more so sometimes than my family, and they're gone. What is my purpose now? How do I function? And sometimes, and going back to what he said, that his CBD product is not just for the military or the first responder. The fact of the matter is, anybody can go through those feelings of what is my purpose. Even myself, when my husband passed, all of a sudden, the purpose I had of helping take care of him was gone. And I had to rediscover who I was and who I am. And it takes a certain amount of being vulnerable with yourself to relearn who you are and to embrace who you are. So if CBD helps you, then by all means do it. And the most important thing, as he was saying, is trying to get past your baggage. In my case, reframing things works wonderful. He was talking about writing things out on paper and then reading it to release that fear. And fear is such a nasty thing that we need to get past. So if you've gotten some lessons from this, if you want to go out and try the CBD, try his. His seems like a good product. There's other vendors as well, but he at least has the purity standards in place. And I agree, you should look and see what is pure, because you don't want to be buying junk. So on that note, I do appreciate William's service and all vets and first responders, because their jobs are intense. And if you want to be a guest on the podcast, have a comment, question, or concern, please send me an email at Donna, DAUNA, at better2podcast.com. That's Donna at better2podcast.com. The website for all episodes is better2podcast.com. You can find all the episodes from this one all the way to the very beginning. And if you want to hook up with us on social media, the links are there as well. So on that note, I hope you have a wonderful day, evening, whenever you choose to listen. And I'll catch you next time, guys. Bye. The Better 2 podcast is mixed, edited, and produced by Rich Zai of Third Ear Audio Productions.